Over the past couple of weeks, I have heard rumors and been asked the question, is the AI market in a bubble? Is Nvidia's demand starting to slip? And will the bubble pop in 2025? We will have answers to all of those questions when we take a look at Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. That's a mouthful, but this company makes all of the chips for all of the major chip designers, including Nvidia and including Broadcom. On the conference call, executives at Taiwan Semi addressed both of the claims from both of those companies about demand in 2025. We'll discuss that. We'll also give you an update on the Arizona FAB that is now at volume production, I think well ahead of schedule. We'll go through all of the financials. This company is absolutely amazing financially. If you don't own shares of this company, I feel sorry for you. We'll also look at this technically. Can this epic run that these shares have been on, can it continue? We'll answer those questions and more. What is going on, investors? Hopefully you guys are doing well out there. We got a big one today. This is Taiwan Semiconductor. That is because over the last year, shares have risen over 100%. And I think we've got a shot at a $1 trillion valuation sometime in 2025. After announcing Q4 earnings, shares are up about 5%. Revenue came in 37% growth year over year. You got a $1 trillion company or an $800 billion company growing at 37%. It's showing you, especially when they're a manufacturer of other people's goods, it's showing you you're in a red hot market. Revenue came in a shade over $27.8 billion. Now, estimates for the upcoming quarters are absolutely sensational. The upcoming Q1, Wall Street estimates were for $24.75 billion on the conference call. The company gave us guidance for Q1 for $25 to $25.8 billion. So the company is already coming over Wall Street's estimates for the Q1, and that obviously has us raising and probably raising our expectations for Q2, Q3, Q4, and spoiler alert, that's probably what's going to happen over at this company. So you're going to have low 20s, maybe even mid 20s growth, probably for all of 2025 over at Taiwan Semiconductor. Now, not so fast because the company does have to spend a lot on capital expenditures. They've got to build these facilities in Taiwan. They've got one coming online in Japan. They've got 3 of them planned out here in the United States. One of them already built in Arizona, 2 other sites on that plot of land also already being erected. Now, in terms of 2024 Capex, it was $29.8 billion, so a shade under $30 billion. They're expanding rapidly. Obviously, when you have this type of revenue growth and demand from customers, you've got to expand your facilities. And here's your 2025 Capex projections, $38 to $42 billion. So that is why investors in this type of company, certainly Nvidia as well, they worry a little bit, particularly with TSM, because if demand falls off the map, well, these Capex just blow up the financials, which we'll walk through in a second. But again, there is no real reason to believe that. In Q4, the different segments this company operates, the bulk of this company's business is in smartphone manufacturing, the chips that go inside your smartphones, and then what they are calling HPC or high performance computing. These are your high-end GPUs primarily made by Nvidia. That business grew 19%. The high performance division grew 19%, not year over year, folks. Quarter over quarter. We're talking month to month, we're growing 20%, and year over year, you grew 58% there. Now, smartphones year over year declined 23%. So the smartphone business is pulling back, but all that revenue and more is being replaced by high performance computing. So again, that is why you will see some investors have some concern, and it is a legitimate concern. If high performance falls off the map, well, yeah, TSM, instead of being up 100% over the past year, 2025 will be a disaster. But I will talk about how the company is not seeing that. Now, in terms of Q1 guidance, you are going to notice that $25 to $25.5 billion is lower than the Q4 that they put up. But keep in mind, you do have seasonal adjustments as it relates to smartphones. Smartphones tend to come out and be released in the back half, kind of the Q4 here, holiday shopping season, at least here in the United States and other parts of the world. You get that push of demand. People buy new phones for the holidays, and then that tends to dry up through the rest of the year. But year over year, you're still up 34%. Gross margins expected to be between 57 and 59%. Those continue to tick up. Analysts on the conference call noted that TSM in the past has peaked into the 60% margins, but the company tamped down those expectations because of the Capex spend that they have to do to continue to expand capacity. Now, in terms of the Arizona FAB, it is absolutely a thing of beauty. And in my opinion, the United States government, if they want to make more chips in the United States, you need to forget about Intel. You need to really forget about just about every other company and give Taiwan Semiconductor as much subsidies as they want, because they pulled ahead of the production schedule on that fab in Arizona, and they've already entered in high volume production. That was in Q4. I don't think we were expecting high volume production until next year. They've already done that. They've already broken ground on a second facility in Arizona. Give this company whatever we gave to Intel, take it away from that company and give it to this one, because they are absolutely delivering. In terms of 2025 guidance, this is a direct quote from the conference call. This year is still mild growth for PC and smartphone. That should tell you what Apple should be expecting. That should tell you what Intel, AMD, some of the other kind of mainline PC and smartphone chips, what they should expect for the rest of the year. But everything else is AI related. So you got huge growth. Skipping to Nvidia and then moving to the high bandwidth memory business on Nvidia. They said they are working very hard to meet the requirements of Nvidia's demand. So the cut in order, some analysts asked about this rumors, and these rumors get started. I don't know where they come from, because there's literally no evidence that Nvidia's demand has fallen off. In fact, there might be more evidence that I might play in the NBA next year, which there is zero chance of that actually happening. Actually might have a higher probability than Nvidia's demand being cut, and TSM confirmed it on the conference call. So they said, so the cut in order, that won't happen, actually continue to increase. So there is no truth to the rumor that Nvidia's demand is being cut. In fact, it's the opposite. And if you have your eyes open, that is exactly what you see out in the marketplace, that not only is the demand not drying up, but it actually continues to increase. Now, that obviously is going to increase the high bandwidth memory business as well, HBM. And they say all that they can say over at TSM is that high bandwidth memory will grow very, very fast. And if I could promote one of my other videos, I'll put a link to this down in the description below. Just yesterday, two memory chip stocks that should outperform Micron in 2025. Not that Micron is a bad company or that won't benefit from HBM, but if you look at the performance of Micron historically, it's actually underperformed the chip industry. It's underperformed the broader markets. I have two stocks that will likely not do that. Again, piggybacking off of the fact that HBM will grow very, very fast. You want to capture that growth. A company like Micron, I think it's kind of a rookie way to do that. In this video, I give you two stocks for free that you can play the upside, and I think they'll do very well. Now, speaking of very well, these financials are absolutely unbelievable. Revenue came in, like we said, a shade over $26.8 billion. Here's the amazing thing about Taiwan Semiconductor. Their gross margins are over 50%. More interestingly enough, their operating profit is basically 50%. So 50% of the revenue, after you pay everything, all the employees, everything, you're churning out 50% to the operating side. You pay some taxes and some other stuff, and you just churned out $12.7 billion in a quarter. There's a reason why you're approaching a $1 trillion valuation on this one. And, if things keep going the way they are, that will take care of itself. Now, from a cash flow perspective, some things that we have to talk about how Capex in the upcoming year should be between $38 and $42 billion. This year, I will say just $30 billion. You see it right here on the cash flow that comes in at property, plant, and equipment. So when these companies give you Capex guidance, you can come over here and link them to the financials. Again, last year was $29.8 billion. So you come over here to the cash flow statement and you say, okay, here it is, $29.8 billion. Well, this year, what are they projecting? 38 to 42. So you got a big bump up in your cash flows that are going to be spent on property, plant, and equipment. Now, the good news is this year, Taiwan Semiconductor generated $56.8 billion of positive operating cash flow. They've got a big positive contribution from depreciation and amortization, which just has to recognize as a cash expense over here on the operating side. On the cash flow side, you get to add it back in because it's not a cash charge. So they generated $56 billion making computer chips for Intel, AMD, and Nvidia, and Apple, among others. And they spent $29 billion of it here. They continue to pay very, very strong dividends from a balance sheet perspective. You have just a mountain of cash over here. You've got a mountain of property, plant, and equipment. Obviously, this company has to make money manufacturing chips, so they invest most of their money into these facilities. They've got nearly, that would be, $100 billion basically of property, plant, and equipment. And again, they're going to invest in Capex in the coming year. That number will continue to tick higher. Speaking of ticking higher, these results, as you can expect, are absolutely wonderful. So your stock is going to be overextended, at least from a technical perspective. Now, I can totally understand many of you look at a chart like this and you've been trained, preconditioned that this is not an area you can buy. You wait for pullbacks. I totally get that. You can wait for pullbacks on this one. They probably will materialize, but I don't think you get one of these massive deep ones. If you get one of these massive deep ones, well, something happened, whether it's the overall market or it is something in the AI market. If that does happen, then you have to reassess. I actually think you only come back to middle of the channels retest. That's why we divide these channels in half, because the middle of these channels can present better opportunities, or more often opportunities. You can step in here and do this. But I actually think with Taiwan Semiconductor, if things go the way we think they'll go, you'll hover at the top of this channel probably for the rest of 2025. It's an absolutely wonderful company, absolutely well run. Every one of their competitors is behind them. Anybody else that tries to open up a fab here in the United States is not only failing, but they're certainly not pulling forward volume production. Taiwan Semiconductor is the Michael Jordan of the business. In fact, they're probably the Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, and Lionel Messi of the business. There's no one even close to them. This is a fantastic company, and the results prove it. They also prove that all the forecasts that we've got from Nvidia and Broadcom are likely also true, at least for calendar year 2025. You can take all that information and do what you want with it, but there's probably some very obvious thing, and I gave you two very obvious picks over on the channel. Links to that down below. Hope you watched the video. We'll see you again next time. Good luck with your investments.